Now I can announce to you here that there is a historic war coming to the earth. A historic war is coming to the earth.
Sasa ninaweza kuwatangazia hapa ya kwamba kuna vita la kihistoria ambalo linakuja duniani.
There is a historic war coming to the earth.
Kuna lo vita la kihistoria ambalo linakuja duniani.
I have seen a terrible war coming to the earth.
Lakini nimeona vita kali kabisa ambalo linakuja duniani.
In fact, I saw the fighter aircrafts.
Hata hivyo niliona zile ndege za kivita.
Those alpha strike aircraft, they're called alpha strike aircrafts.
Zile ndege speciali kabisa za kivita.
The ones that strike, they go first into the enemy territory.
Zile ambazo zinapiga zinaenda kwa haraka kabisa katika eneo la adui.
Even those pilots, they go on what we call suicidal missions.
Hata wale marubani wanaenda katika misheni ambazo zinaitwa misheni za kujiua.
Because they are the ones who go normally and knock down the anti-aircraft missiles and all of them, the batteries, wherever they are. First of all, disarm them, knock them down.
Kwa sababu hao ndio ambao wanaenda na kutegua yale makombora ya kivita.
The anti-aircraft missiles and the batteries, wherever they are located, they are the ones that know them and they go and knock them out first before the other fleet now come.
Zile wao ndio ambao wanategua zile ndege ambazo ni za makombora. Hao ndio ambao wanaenda na kuzitegua kabisa kabla zije. Niliona hizo ndege za kivita zikienda.
And then I saw the special operation forces in attack, the strike helicopters going also.
Halafu nikaenda zile ndege speciali kabisa katika vikosi, zile helicopters za kulipua pia zikienda.
And I saw people being dropped in parachutes.
Na pia nikaona watu wakiletwa katika parachutes.
And so the Lord showed me then a lot of people running and being refugees, pouring their things out into a refugee camp, and they were looking for food, opening cans and eating old soup and whatever. It was such a situation.
Hivyo basi Bwana alinionyesha watu wakikimbia na kutoroka na kuingia katika kambi za wakimbizi. Na hivyo basi niliona watu hao ambao walikuwa wanaingia katika kambi hizo za wakimbizi wakikula vyakula, wakichukua vyakula vya mikebe na kukula na pia wakikunywa supu. Hivyo basi kulikuwepo na hali tatanishi.
And so I saw them in such a terrible place in the open, refugees of that war. There was lack of food, there was a lot of smoke and bombing and deaths.
Niliwaona katika hali mbaya kabisa katika hizo kambi za wakimbizi na kulikuwepo na moshi mkubwa kabisa.
In that war there was big bombings and a lot of smoke and a lot of gunfire.
Katika hilo vita kulikuwepo na moshi mkubwa, kulikuwepo na mabomu na kulikuwepo na marisasi mengi.
I saw a lot of war, a lot of gunfire, a lot of missiles, attack helicopters, the strike aircrafts, and it was just unbelievable.
Niliona vita mingi kabisa, niliona marisasi mingi kabisa yakipigwa, niliona makombora makubwa yakipiga, mabomu makubwa yakipigwa. Hivyo basi ilikuwa mbaya kabisa ya kutisha.
And so,
kwa hivyo,
after that,
baada ya hiyo,
then I saw the pale horse.
Halafu nikamuona farasi wa kijivujivu
running across the sky.
Akikimbia katika anga.
The pale horse that July 29th, the year 2009, I saw in heaven released.
Yule farasi wa kijivujivu ambaye nilimuona tarehe 29 Julai mwaka 2009, nilimuona mbinguni akiachiliwa.
So I saw him running across the sky.
Kwa hivyo nilimuona akikimbia katika anga.
So the mission of that pale horse, the escalation of it is about to take place.
Hivyo basi misheni ya huyo farasi wa kijivujivu, kuongezeka kwa misheni yake iko karibu kutendeka.
The Lord spoke with me. I see a border dispute. I see a territorial dispute. I see a territorial dispute that is coming. A territorial dispute, one country trying to annex part of another country. And they were saying, no, because they speak our language. Those people in that area speak our language. Those people in that area, they live like this, like us. They speak our language. So I see a territorial dispute that is coming, and normally that will involve quite a bit of, I see a bit of UN involvement in negotiation. I see quite a bit of military also. So I see these things coming to the earth. The Messiah is coming, blessed people. On every occasion when I come before you and speak, you the nations of the earth, you should rush and repent, run and kneel down and repent and receive Christ and be holy and prepare. Life on the earth, essentially the Lord is saying He has brought the entire earth under the jurisdiction of the words of the tongue of His two prophets. That is very clear now. And begin to repent and prepare for the coming of the Messiah. everything that needs to be spoken, everything that ought to be spoken in preparing the way for the glorious coming of the Messiah, I have spoken. And I've been faithful to speak exactly as God the Father has instructed. May those who have ears repent and prepare the way for the coming of the Messiah. Thank you. Thank you indeed. The Lord bless you.
NBC News. This is Today.
Russian President Vladimir Putin recognized 2 new countries overnight, both pieces of Ukraine, and ordered in Russian tanks and troops to back them up.
Right now, we are following some big international breaking news. NATO officials now saying Russia has officially invaded Ukraine.
Мирное население.
These are missiles fired by Russia from sea and from land against Ukraine. These images were released by Russia's defense ministry.
In a briefing on Saturday, the Russian Defense Ministry revealed it used the hypersonic 𝐏𝐚𝐫𝐿 missile system, claiming a strike destroyed an underground arms depot of missiles and aircraft ammunition in the town of Delatin, a flash of light and destruction. Their extreme speed, precision, and maneuverability, even mid-flight, means they are highly effective at striking targets and difficult to defend against with existing air defense systems.
From a shopping mall in Kyiv, the latest of many acts of violence which appeared to be targeting civilians.
Russia's military has also released these pictures this morning, reportedly showing a naval missile launch on Ukrainian military infrastructure. Russia claims it has destroyed weapons at a military equipment depot in Owuor region.
The missiles exploded in a startling, violent barrage.
The Russian military launched more than 100 ballistic and cruise missiles into Ukraine last night, also seizing an airport less than 20 miles away from Ukraine's capital of Kyiv.
A huge blast in the center of Ukraine's second largest city. Look at the destruction in Kharkiv, which is about the size of Philadelphia. This guy was shooting a selfie video when a missile struck. Rubble rains down.
Huge explosions woke everyone in Kiev as the Russian mission continues. Fiery debris falling onto residential buildings below.
There is a historic war coming to the earth. I have seen a terrible war coming to the earth. There was a lot of smoke and bombing and deaths. There was a lot of smoke and bombing and deaths.
In the town of Bucha, the streets are littered with bodies in civilian clothing. Some, with their hands tied behind their back, appear to have been executed. It's a crime scene.
It may have been liberated by Ukrainian soldiers, but its residents have paid a heavy price. As Russian tanks rolled into this town, it was never going to be a fair fight. Its aftermath, probable evidence of war crimes.
Video from Bucha shows bodies in the streets after Russian forces left the area. Some images even show bodies with hands tied behind their back.
Northwest of the capital, the city of Bucha bears witness to the brutality of war. Each scene a grim snapshot of the chaos and violence of their final moments. Bodies remain where they fell until it's safe to retrieve them. Ukrainians continue to be confronted with scenes of bodies littering streets as they return to towns and villages abandoned by Russian forces. Ukraine's leaders want Russia to be held accountable for what they call crimes against humanity. The mayor of the Ukrainian town of Motyzhin, 50 kilometers west of Kyiv, local residents say was killed in an execution-style slaying. Her husband and son by her side.
Authorities here telling us more than 400 people were killed. Streets littered with bodies. Civilians look to have been executed in the streets.
The Kiev region is liberated from Russian murderers, but nobody is celebrating. These are the pictures that struck Ukrainians and the whole world. These are the evidences of inhuman crimes, first thing that defenders found on the liberated territories.
The dead are silent witnesses to what happened here. And what is alleged to have happened is Russian soldiers attacking civilians fleeing the city. The mayor of Kyiv visited Bucha to show solidarity.
Bucha із зв'язаними руками тими білими, цивільними, мирними, як вони пояснювали, ганчірками за спиною і розстріляні в потилицю. То можете уявити собі, які тут безчинства вони творили.
The body of a 44-year-old member of the Ukrainian Territorial Defense found in a sewage maintenance shaft. His wife said he'd been kidnapped by Russian soldiers.
Зробили повністю. Той упав. А стрілець каже, не кричи, бо будуть стріляти. Вони розвернулися, вони йому хлопці.
Bucha massacre is the most outrageous atrocity of the 21st century.
We are in Bucha, and you can see inside the car the body of grandmother without head. It's awful. That's a real genocide.
The war crimes committed here mark a bleak new low in this conflict, described by Ukraine as the most outrageous atrocity of the 21st century. There isn't just one site where massacres occurred. The true picture here is only just emerging.
There was a lot of smoke and bombing and deaths. And deaths. And deaths. There was a lot of smoke and bombing and deaths.
Bodies lined the streets, some with their hands bound, executed at close range. Others bore the scars of torture.
The horrors of war for Ukrainian civilians. Volunteers bagged the bodies of a group of men, unceremoniously dumped behind a building, presumably by the Russians who used it as a base and left behind their waste and army-issued food rations. What we've seen here is 8 bodies, some of them with their hands tied behind their backs. This could be evidence of war crimes. The soldiers we're here with say that they were tortured before they died.
Newly released satellite photos are said to show one key aspect of that horrific scene in Bucha. Was taken last Thursday. It shows the outlines of a mass grave on the grounds of a church.
Just beyond the gates of a church in the town of Bucha, 37 kilometers northwest of the capital Kiev, lies an open field where a 14-meter-long trench has been dug. What's inside can only be described as horrendous.
To say that this is a gruesome sight would be an understatement. This is where Ukrainian officials are telling us that 60 bodies were buried in a mass grave outside that church by the Russians, and they try to cover it up. And they say that some of these bodies had their hands tied behind their backs and were executed through the head, shot through the head.
The Ukrainians say the Russians used the church grounds to hastily bury civilians and security personnel they had killed after occupying Bucha in the first days of Moscow's aggression.
Bucha's mayor says entire families were killed and nearly 300 people have been buried in a mass grave.
A mass grave for what Ukraine has called a massacre. Russian troops accused of killing civilians before pulling out of this town close to Kyiv. No hiding the horror. Unclear how many bodies are lying in this makeshift resting place.
On the main road leading into Bucha, this Russian convoy of heavily armoured vehicles lies completely destroyed. It stands testament to the ferocity of the fight. The town was retaken by Ukrainian forces on the 31st of March. It's only now that what happened here can be documented. The scale of destruction is simply too much.
Outskirts of the capital, Kiev, was controlled by Russian soldiers for about a month.
Russia's military appears to have suffered heavy losses before being driven out of the area around Kiev. This column of armored vehicles in Bucha completely destroyed. The way the Ukrainians tell us is that Russians were trying to go towards Kiev, and they were then intercepted by Ukrainian drones, artillery, and also the Javelin anti-tank weapons. It's not clear how many Russians were killed here, but they say many were, and others fled the scene.
This is Bucha, the town in Ukraine that is now firmly the center of the world's attention, the scene of extraordinary actions by the Russian soldiers, killing hundreds of civilians.
In cities now, a scene of terrible destruction, military equipment burned in the streets, homes destroyed.
Devastation is breathtaking. Nearly an entire city reduced to rubble. 90% of Mariupol blown to bits by the Russian invaders. A city the size of Minneapolis, now pretty much wiped off the map.
It's in Mariupol where the horrific scale of Vladimir Putin's war on Ukraine is laid bare. This once thriving southern seaport, home to nearly 500,000, is now a wasteland.
you be wise. May your wisdom not fail you on this one. Because remember, eternity is a very long time. Life on this earth is being dismantled. On every occasion when I come before you and speak, you the nations of the earth, you should rush and repent, run and kneel down and repent and receive Christ and be holy and prepare. Life on the earth, essentially the Lord is saying he has brought the entire earth under the jurisdiction of the words of the tongue of his two prophets. That is very clear now. This should cause you to take gravity at my words and begin to repent and prepare for the coming of the Messiah. Everything that needs to be spoken, everything that ought to be spoken in preparing the way for the glorious coming of the Messiah, I have spoken. And I've been faithful to speak exactly as God the Father has instructed. May those who have ears repent and prepare the way for the coming of the Messiah. Thank you. Thank you indeed. The Lord bless you.